So if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. My name is Tom Swiss. I am the instructor for the Seido Karate program in Catonsville, and as part of Seido Karate, we integrate Zen Style meditation. Now, I bring this up to point out that I'm not trying to make you a Zen Buddhist. Okay, students of Seido come from all faith traditions, all backgrounds, including secular traditions, atheist, agnostic, whatever. But historically, this form of meditation comes out of Zen, and I might say a few words about Zen Buddhism and everything, but I'm not trying to make anyone into a Buddhist. Okay, probably not even really a Buddhist myself. The Zen style of meditation. There are many different types of meditation out there. The Zen style is interesting because it doesn't have a lot of instructions. We're going to talk a little bit about posture, the way physically that you sit, but unlike many other styles of meditation, there is not some intellectual exercise that you're going to do. You're not going to recite a mantra. You are not going to try to visualize anything. You are going to just sit. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, but for now we're going to talk about the meditation posture. Your own meditation posture is going to depend on your circumstances. I've been making a point to talk about sitting in a chair lately, so let me start with that, because I know not everyone can even get down on the floor. So if we talk about using a chair here, when you sit, let's back a little bit. I'm trying to get in both cameras here. When you sit in a chair, number one, you would not want to just be leaning against the back of the chair like that. That would be bad. So scoot forward, get away from the back of the chair if your chair has a back. One of the key things about meditation posture, you want your knees to be lower than your hips so that this makes an angle and your belly is open. You can breathe deeply in and out. So you'll move forward on your chair a little bit. Have your knees lower than your hips, all right? And then most of the other things we're going to talk about will apply. If you're going to sit on the floor in the dojo, in the karate dojo, we sit in the position we call seiza. You basically kneel and you're going to sit back on your heels. It's a little cheap, but even our grandmaster does it if you kind of cross your feet a little bit and sit back like so. With practice, this is fine. I can sit like this for a good long time. Most Americans are going to really have trouble with this if they're not used to sitting like this. So maybe don't do that if you've never sat before. We do have a little gizmo called the Seiza bench, which I really like, which makes sitting in Seiza so much easier. Notice it is angled. It is angled. So again, you get this angle of the thighs with the hips, opening the belly. Nice deep breath there. But the traditional way to sit is the various cross-legged postures. Now, in order for that to work, if I just sit on the floor, cross-legged, my knees are up. So what I need is to put some type of pad. I've just taken 2 blankets. Usually what I end up using is just the pillows off my bed. I'll fold one in half, put it on top of the other, and that makes it about right for me. You can fold some blankets, you can wad up some laundry. Maybe you want to use clean laundry, but you can use your dirty laundry. And that. Oh, hey, now my hips are higher, and I can get my knees down. So you can sit like this, not actually cross-legged, but with one leg kind of tucked inside the other. This is one traditional posture. You can actually sit crisscross applesauce, as I understand the kids call it these days. That works. You can do the half lotus, or you can pull yourself up into the full lotus position there. Now, the full lotus is really nice because it's a little bit symmetric and it really puts your hips and your lower back at just a really nice angle when you use it with a cushion here. But it's difficult. Okay, so the half lotus is great if you can do that, cross-legged or the one leg inside the other posture. We're going to go ahead when we sit. We're going to do a 7-minute round, and then we'll do a 15-minute round. So if you take one posture and You can kind of try it for 7 minutes and think, no, that was too much. You can change, okay, in between. Whichever posture you're going to use, you're going to get your nice stable base here. Okay, you're going to make sure that your shoulders are over your hips and your ears are over your shoulders. Everything is nice and stacked, not leaning forward, not leaning back, not leaning side to side. Okay, you want to imagine that someone's grabbing a hair on the top of your head and sort of holding you up from there. That's what you're looking for. All right. You put your right hand a little bit below your belly button, your left hand on top, join the thumbs. This makes the mudra we call Ho-In. It kind of brings your energy and your breath down to the belly. So that's what we're looking for there. You want to touch your tongue to the roof of your mouth. This, in Taoist thought, you're completing an energy circuit, the Renmai and the Dumai, the conception vessel and the governing vessel. More practically, it helps keep spit from building up in your mouth, so pick whether you want the esoteric or the practical explanation for that. You're going to close your eyes halfway. Don't close them all the way, because then you're going to tend to get lost in whatever thoughts come into your brain. But if you keep them open, you're just going to be looking around. Like if I had my eyes open, I would be admiring myself in the computer monitors here, or looking at the bookshelves behind them saying, I still need to, I never did finish reading the Four Paws, Five Directions, that book about acupressure on animals. Oh, and that one, I never finished that one. Oh, that one had a really good chapter, but yeah, that's where my brain would be. So close the eyes halfway. The texts say with the eyes neither open nor closed, which is just a fancy way of saying close them halfway, right? Right. All right. And when we sit, well, as I said, you're just going to sit. Tom, what does that mean? That is such an abstract expression, abstract instruction. I can't deal with it. Okay, if that is too abstract for you, I will give you something to do. You can count your breaths. This is how I first learned. Mr. Reese taught us this back when I was in middle school. Counting the breaths. You're going to, every time you breathe out, you breathe 1, 2, 3, using your inside voice. You count up to 8. Then you go back to 1. If you lose count, you go back to 1. If you count on 9, 10, 11, 12, 17, 23, 108, go back to 1. Some meditation teachers really hate that idea, but I think it's an okay thing to get you started. Okay? As I say, it's the way that I started. If you want to try something a little closer, if you find your brain wandering off into something, you can come back to your posture. Come back and say, oh, okay, how am I supposed to be sitting here? And make some fine adjustments to your posture. Become aware of your body. That's a good thing to do, becoming aware of your body. So that would be a good thing to do if you need to come back to meditation. But really what we're trying to do here is any thought that comes, is just let it come and let it go again. Don't grab onto it. Don't try to categorize it. Don't try to label it. Don't try to dissect it. Just say, even to say, just say there's a thought is thinking, and just let it go. One metaphor that might be helpful is if you imagine if you went down to the stream, nice turbulent stream with a lot of mud kicked up in the water, you got a big glass jar full of water, and you set that water up on the windowsill. Well, it's all cloudy. It's all cloudy. Now, the only way that water is going to get clear is if you let the mud settle out of it. There is nothing you can do to go in and pick the mud out of there. In fact, when you try to do that, you just stir it up more, right? That's how it works. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We're going to let the mud settle out of the mind and see, oh, look, it's clear. Okay. But as soon as you say it's clear, you're thinking again, and you've just stirred it up. So just sit. Just sit. Just sit. That is the ultimate instruction for Zen style meditation. All right. So we are going to do a 7-minute round of just sitting. We will have a brief pause, and then we will go ahead and do a second round of 15 minutes. So you will have the opportunity, if you are, put a little effort into it. Okay. If it's mildly uncomfortable, just sit with that. Notice it. Recognize it. without necessarily having to act on it. But if you are, you feel like your knee is going to tear, then adjust your posture. If it's mildly uncomfortable, maybe try to wait till the end of the round and then choose a different posture for the second round. All right. 7 minutes. Let's assume our position. Get yourself nicely sit here. And please now mokuso, begin meditation. All right, so that's going to end our first round. Just, do a little grounding and centering here. So you place your hands out, pull them back, take a nice deep breath in and out. And again. Right, one more time. Okay, good. All right, so take a moment now if you need to go ahead and adjust whatever meditation posture you are going to use. We'll do a 15-minute round here. But I'm just going to say a few words. I like to, ramble on for a few minutes about some spiritual concept, and we'll talk about. I'm going to talk about a Japanese proverb. That'll be our meditation lecture for the day. But we'll do our 15-minute round first, and then we'll spend a few minutes talking about the Japanese proverb that says that it is easier to find a thief in the mountains than to find a thief in your own heart. So let's go ahead and set up whatever posture you want to use. If you use a different one than the first round, that's just peachy. And okay, I might be a little low. My volume might be a little lower today. I'm not going to adjust it now, but maybe I'll download and readjust this later here. All right. The joys of technology, my friends. All right, second round, 15 minutes. Mokuso. again, let's just ground and center a little bit. Place your hands out. A little bit nice deep breath in. And pushing down, breathe out. Okay, and again. One more time. All right, so sit down and relax. If your legs starting to fall asleep or anything, if you need to change your posture. So I just wanted to talk for a moment, as I said, about a proverb. And this is a proverb that, I had the book and I'm not sure where I put it. Kaicho Nakamura talks about in his book One Day, One Lifetime. It's a collection of meditation lectures from our karate grandmaster Kaicho Nakamura. He has a book about meditation, a collection of his lectures. It's called One Day, One Lifetime. And in one of the lectures in there, he talks about this Japanese proverb. It says, "It is easier to find a thief in the mountains than a thief in your heart." And this is sort of the same sentiment that we find. I think it's a biblical proverb. How it's easier to see the mote in your neighbor's eye while you ignore the plank in your own. I don't remember the exact wording of that, or if it's an old Hebrew proverb, or if it was something specific to the New Testament. I don't know, but you've heard it before, right? The mote in your eye, or the mote in your neighbor's eye versus the plank in your own. It is hard to see oneself because, you're inside yourself. You are yourself. You're looking out. That's the perspective that you have. And so it's very easy to look around and criticize others, but also to praise others. It's a two-sided coin here. It's easy to see what's going on out there and make a judgment about it from this perspective, and say, that person, what that person is doing is wrong. They should not do that. Or also, wow, what that person is doing is really great. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, what a wonderful person that is. It's hard to see that in ourselves. It's hard to see when we do wrong. And I don't mean great big sins of the world. What's the word I'm looking for here? Deadly sins. The really bad ones. It's easy to see the hate in someone else. You see someone demonstrating on the TV, for a cause that you don't agree with. You say, oh, look at that person, look at their angry face there, they're so full of hate. Oh, that person is really bad! And you don't see the anger in your own face. And I mean all of us, I including myself here. I'm trying to include myself here. The anger in our own face, and how that is the same anger, even if it's directed differently, even if it's in a different cause. It's the same anger that we are criticizing in that other person. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, my friends. So it's something to think about. We need to be aware of our own, what's going on, in our own heart. We need to look inside there. That's part of why we sit, part of why we meditate. When we sit, and what comes when we sit? Well, what comes when you sit is what you brought with you when you sat down. So if when you sit, what comes up, what you see is, oh, there's anger. Well, you brought it with you. So, we become more familiar with what is there, what we're bringing to the cushion. So it's something to consider, something to think about there, that, it is easier to see a thief in the mountains than it is to see a thief in your own heart. But again, that can also, it is easier to see, I don't know, what's the opposite of a thief? It is easier to see the healer. It is easier to see the prince. It is easier to see the great, brave guru. It is easier to see the guru in the mountains, the sensei, the teacher in the mountains, than it is to see the teacher in your own heart. I'm going to leave it with that. That almost sounded like something smart to say, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'm gonna think about that myself, my friends. So thank you for joining me here on another Sunday. We'll continue to do this. I think we'll do it next Sunday. I might take the Sunday after that off, but I expect I'll be around next Sunday. So anyway, watch the Facebook page. I'll let you know what's going on. If you're not on the Facebook page, if you have no idea, if you just stumbled across this, private message me. Put a comment on, say, hey, I want to find out more about this. We'll get in touch. We'll keep you up to date with all this stuff going on. So thank you, my friends, for joining me, and I'll be back here next Sunday.